The best chats are always the unscripted ones. There are interesting stories all around us, and here's one of them.
Open your eyes, spectacular's right in front of you.
Oh yeah, this is totally unscripted, so we never know where this is going to go.
Dangerous.
This is the unscripted perspective. And here's your host, Phil Parker. Phil Parker. Phil Parker. Phil Parker.
Well, hello. It is another unscripted perspective with me, your host, Phil Parker, as usual. And as usual, I have another amazing guest. Tonight's guest is Kris Ashley. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me, Phil. And you warned me that there was going to be an intro, but you didn't tell me it was going to be such a cool intro. So I'm pretty impressed.
I appreciate that. It's been a long time coming. And I have to give props to Brooke, who you were also on her show. She kind of taught me some things on Canva, so we made that happen. But thank you. So for those of us who don't know who you are, I always like to kind of put you on the spot in the first couple of seconds of the podcast to give yourself a little intro about who you are, what you're doing, and then we can open the forum for questions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally. So I'm a coach, I'm an author, I'm a speaker. I also happen to own a yoga company, but that's not my main thing. And I recently wrote a book. It's called Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality. It's endorsed by 3 experts from The Secret, endorsed by John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, endorsed by Anita Moorjani. So it got some pretty good backing, which is amazing. And I had a spiritual awakening in 2002, and ever since then, I've been on this journey to heal myself and to help others along the way.
That is phenomenal. So I didn't realize it had backing from the people behind Men Are From Mars, Women Are From That's pretty cool. I like that. That's a great backing to have when you first write a book about relationships and changing your mind and do all that stuff there. That book is famous, so that's a really cool endorsement.
So is The Secret.
Yeah, I haven't actually read that or been anywhere near that, but I'm sure I will take your word for it. So kind of moving into this wonderful world that you're in and writing books and all that, tell everyone and tell me like where it all kind of started, because mental health and kind of reframing your world and doing all this amazing stuff. What really what was the catalyst for you wanting to do this kind of work?
Well, I love that you already said mental health, and I love that you use the word catalyst because that's what I use. So I had a spiritual awakening in 2002. And like most people who have had a spiritual awakening or just gotten to that point where they need to reinvent themselves, right? Like something needs to change in their life. The catalyst was my own trauma. And unfortunately and fortunately, that's a lot of people's stories. So my story is when I was 12 years old, I was sexually abused by a family member for 4 years. And I had this really big, tight-knit, extended Italian family. And when they found out what happened, many of them disowned me. And it left me with all of these, what I call low vibration emotions, like anger and guilt, that as a young adolescent, I didn't know how to cope with. Most adults don't know how to cope with those types of emotions. And so I was in a really dark place. I was getting in trouble in school. I was doing drugs. I was self-harming. And my world was kind of crumbling. And then everything totally changed when someone handed me a book. And what this book did was show me that there is another way of thinking and being and moving through the world and understanding life and the universe and the human experience. And I like to say that I was like a sleeper agent, right? Like something inside me just woke up when I read that. And when I finished it, I started reaching for more. And I just became insatiable. I was devouring every metaphysical, spiritual, new age, personal development book, you name it, that I could get my hands on. And I started going to retreats and workshops. I found all these teachers to study under. And I was doing all these healing modalities. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was doing all this hard inner work. Like for me, I just thought I was uncovering these mysteries of the universe, right? Like tapping into these secrets that no one else knew. And my life totally changed and it got really good. And synchronicities were happening and I was manifesting things with the law of attraction. But the other side of my story is that as I was changing my mind and getting better, my mother started to get worse. So her family had been ripped down the seams, and she didn't have these healing modalities and teachers that I did. And it manifested as physical illness for her. She got cancer, she got hepatitis, she got all these serious illnesses, but also really weird afflictions that her doctors at Northwestern couldn't even explain. So they did what they do. They gave her pills, and then they gave her pills for the side effects of those pills. They put her on a fentanyl patch. And as a result, she slept for all but a few hours of daylight. She fell down all the time. She would nod off at the dinner table. We'd have these amazing conversations that she wouldn't even remember the next day. And this lasted for almost 15 years. And I had this compounded guilt that I had destroyed my family and broken my mother. But as you're going to find out during this conversation, I believe everything happens for a reason. And I realized that my mother was my biggest teacher, because for every step that she took deeper into depression and illness and victimization, I climbed in the other direction out of that dark tunnel, because I saw firsthand what happens to a human body and spirit when they go down that path, when they choose that path. And then I was seeing what happened to my own body and spirit as I was changing my mind about life and the universe and the nature of reality. And I made a promise to myself I would do everything I could to heal physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And I've kept that promise to this day. And my life, I have the life of my dreams now. And after 2 decades working on myself, I decided it was time to give back. Took a life coach training, wrote a book, and the rest is history.
Wow. I mean, talk about a story and an intro. That is, it's just crazy. It's just crazy how much there is focus right now on mental health and the stuff that you've gone through. I mean, not to get too into it with you as far as my own personal life, but like legitimately we've all been through struggles. You know, I moved my whole family, my almost 2-year-old, my wife and myself, to Ireland to tend to help during COVID and address some family things that were going on in Ireland for my family, for my parents. And legitimately, like, you don't realize how fragmented your own mental health is until you have to deal with all of that. And it's been a journey for me as well. And I think when you talk about the catalyst and things that change your world, it's events like what you've been through and events like what some of us have gone through, a lot of us have gone through during COVID or even before, that really kind of almost kick you into action almost. Yeah. Like it's a scary world, unfortunately. And I think COVID has woken us up to the fact that mentally, when we're stuck in a room on our own and we have to face our own fears and our own weird little sensibilities and things that are going on in our heads, we tend to find that we're very uncomfortable. And COVID has forced us to deal with the uncomfortable and talking about mental health and talking about how depression is now one of the biggest illnesses in the world and how it is an illness and it's not just somebody being sad. And there's so many things that have happened over the last few years that things that you're doing have become even more kind of highlighted. So how do you, like, going into this fun world of trying to help people, like, what are the things that you're noticing the most when you're dealing with your clients, and what do you feel is the biggest affliction for people right now?
Well, I just want to first of all piggyback off of something you said. You know, when it's time to change, when you are not on the path you're meant to go on, when you are not following your true purpose and passion, the universe will make you so uncomfortable that you have no choice but to change, right? So here's the thing, you always have a choice. And a lot of times when I tell that story, I get the reaction of, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you went through that. But here's the thing, I'm not. I wouldn't do it over any other way. And because it's what I needed to awaken. It was part of the journey I was supposed to go on, and it's made me who I am today. It's put me on the path that I'm on today, and I'm so
Right.
grateful for the path that I'm on. And when adversity and challenges come your way, you always have a choice. You can get better and forgive and learn and grow from those situations, or you can fall into unconsciousness and go deeper into illusion, right? The opposite of awakening. And you can get bitter and fall into resentment and victimization, right? And again, the choice is always up to you. So, I don't really help people with mental health as much. What I really do is I help people shift their perspective around the things that they've gone through, the things that people have said and done to them, their health, their relationships, their money, all of these things. Because, every tragedy, every heartbreak in life has within it a hidden Easter egg. And if you can find that, tremendous healing, growth, leveling up take place.
Yeah.
And, my book is called Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality. I don't think we even said that, but it's all about, we all come at things from our own belief system. But here's the thing, everything that happens, everything people say and do to you, all these things, circumstances, situations, they're all neutral, right? Your information is neutral, but your view of it is not. Your reaction to it is not. Your response is not. Because we all have a lens, our own filter through which we view the world. And a lot of it starts with our own belief system, our subconscious programming, most of which happens before the age of 7, by the way. Because when you're up to 7 years old, you're in a theta brainwave state, which is literally hypnosis. So you're just programmable. You're downloading information. Like when they say kids are a sponge, they're literally a sponge. So
They really are a sponge.
What?
They really are a sponge. I'm literally going through that right now with my 5-year-old. He is a sponge. It's not even funny anymore.
Yeah, but it's not just like the cute things like repeating swear words though, right? It's like the opinions of the adults you grew up around, cultural conditioning, that teacher that says, hey, you're a good singer. Hey, you're not very good at math. Like all of this becomes your inner voice, your inner lens, and your belief system. So 10 different people can witness the same event and see it from 10 different points of view because we all come at it from our own perspective.
Right. And honestly, it's on so many levels, that is exactly what is happening for a lot of people is we take for granted that, our children can really just see everything that's going on, but it's not just about what they're seeing or hearing. They're learning how to react to situations based off of your reactions. And not to give too much away about my parenting style, but legitimately, I told this story the other day. I was getting Domino's pizza, not plugging any pizza company, but they got my pizza wrong and they called the house to say, hey, we put the wrong pizza in the box. So we turn around and obviously I'm frustrated, right? And he's sitting in the back and it's like, he goes, why are we turning around? I was like, they put the wrong pizza in the box. And I kind of said it in a frustrated tone. And he said to me, is it because they're stupid, Daddy? I go, no, where did you hear that word? And he goes, you say it all the time when you're angry. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just called me out like that. And you don't realize how much they're soaking in and really feeling and all of that, your reactions, until you kind of look at them like they're a mirror and you see the reactions in certain situations and how they deal with stuff. And you're going, oh my gosh, like this is incredible. Like I need to watch what I'm doing now, but to your point, it's a scary kind of thing to say, hey, all the way up to 7, they're like Rubik's cubes. Essentially, you can completely screw a whole person up in 7 years and not have any fix for that. You know what I mean? It's just a crazy thing as you venture down the path of being a parent yourself.
Yeah, no pressure at all. I actually had someone on my podcast earlier who was all about conscious parenting, and she was talking about all of that. And she's like, it starts when they're in the womb. Your emotions, they feel everything. Yeah. I'm like, no pressure at all.
It's, so tell me a little bit about your book, because unfortunately I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but the modalities and the things that you're really showing people how to use, like, what does that look like? So for example, if I'm coming to you and I'm your client, walk me through that process and kind of give me an idea of how that would look.
Totally. So the book and the client journey are pretty similar. So I'll tell you about the book to start. So I mean, I kind of did a little bit already, right? It's about shifting your perspective, because your belief system creates your reality. Your belief system creates your thoughts create your emotions. All of these things create your reality. So it's about looking at things from another perspective, because so many different realities exist and we get to choose which one we focus on. So it's also about the law of attraction, right? That you can create anything you want. I back everything up with science, by the way. I'm a total nerd. I love quantum physics. I love epigenetics. So I talk a lot about that. But so I'd say half the book is the law of attraction, right? Getting really clear on your vision, what you want. And then closing that gap between where you are now and that life of your dreams and helping you navigate it. But equally as important is it helps remove the blocks that keep people from manifesting the life of their dreams. So that's things like unconscious programming, like we were just talking about, in belief systems, but also repressed emotions, grudges, not forgiving people, because all these things can seep into your manifesting. They can color the world, right?
Right.
If most people focus on their fears, their doubts, their worries, their insecurities, placing blame on others, judgment. And you're going to live a really different life if you see the world as a really scary place. If you feel like you have to be on the defense all the time, if you feel like you need to attack before you're attacked, versus if you come from a place of ease and safety and abundance. So it's showing people that there's always this other side that you can look at anything from. And the cool thing is quantum physics backs it all up. Quantum physics says that every possible reality exists out there in a state of rest. Everything you can imagine and everything you can. It's just waiting for you to choose it. So I really like to empower people in that way and, get people to move away from feeling like a victim and step into their own power.
First of all, being a geek and a nerd, and like we were saying, a fan of many different sci-fi things that would involve what you were just talking about on a more, some would say, unrealistic level. It is intriguing to me that you are saying that there's different realities, and I'd love to kind of dive into that a little bit more, because for a lot of people, they would love to choose a different reality. There's a lot of people going through some stuff right now that would love to choose a different reality. For me, I'd love to choose the reality that won the $1.4 billion that's going on the Powerball right now. But hey, we can't win them all, right? But so really kind of walk me through that, because when you're saying choose a different reality, how open is it? Is it a psychological thing? Are we like, how do we choose that different reality? Because it's very, I would love to just say, hey, I want to choose a reality where I'm making $1 million a year. Like, what does that look like? How? Because I'm struggling now, because now all I'm thinking is sci-fi, and I need to cut that out of my mind for a second. So tell me about that specific aspect of it.
Okay, totally. Well, I am a huge sci-fi nerd. Okay, let's go down a rabbit hole a little bit. And then I'm just going to put this in the bank so we both remember it. I want to talk to you about manifesting money specifically, because you just brought it up twice.
Cool.
And I think that's something we can talk about too. So, okay, so let's go down a rabbit hole. Every time you make a choice, imagine this. Your timeline branches off, and the version of you who made the choice you make, goes on to keep living your life. But your timeline branches off, and there's another version of you that lives out the other choice that your version didn't make. And then every time those two versions have to make a choice, the timelines branch again, and so on and so on. And you can see how this is just this big tree, right?
Right.
And there are versions of reality that are very similar to what you are consciously living. And then there are versions of reality that are vastly, vastly different. Like there is a version of you right now who won that Powerball, who has, everything you
I need to
want,
meet that guy.
yeah, who's maybe with your ex, and so on. And the
Right.
cool thing, if you're just listening to this and thinking like this is a bunch of woo-woo shit, the cool
This
thing
this
is
this
that
sounds like an Avengers movie, but anyway, go on.
the cool thing is that quantum physics backs it up. So in quantum physics, there's what's called the many worlds theory, or the many worlds interpretation of quantum physics. So are you familiar with quantum physics at all?
Yes, I actually had on a previous episode, you probably missed it. I had someone who was into quantum physics, and we went through a bunch of other stuff as well. So yeah,
Okay.
not very familiar, but familiar, let's say.
Okay, so just for listeners who aren't, one of the big things in quantum physics is that electrons, matter, right? Matter, what we're made of, matter, appears like particles to us, but it's actually in a wave. So that's like one of the fundamental things of quantum physics. And there's a very famous experiment called the double slit experiment that proved this. So quantum physics says that before we observe this electron, this matter, it can exist anywhere on a wave function. So a wave function is just a really fancy way of saying this cloud or this realm of possibilities. Okay, so we don't know we're anywhere within this cloud where this electron lives. But the second that you observe it, the wave function collapses. And all that means is that all of a sudden you see that electron as a particle in one time and space only. Now, the many worlds interpretation of quantum physics says that every other place within that realm or that cloud of possibilities that electron could exist actually exists in a parallel world, in a parallel reality that exists in the same time and space as ours, but just on a different, dimensional level, you could say. Now, the cool thing is, the human eye can only see 0.0035% of the light spectrum. So that means over 99% of our world is invisible to us. It's hidden from us in plain sight. So, who's to say these other dimensions are not laid on top of ours, these other worlds, just like transparencies. And it's just mind-blowing. It's so fun to go down these rabbit holes because there's just so much to this world and this universe and life that we are just not consciously aware of.
You've just blown my mind. I don't know.
It's fun to think about, right?
Yeah, it is, but it's also kind of scary because there's a lot of things that have happened throughout people's lives that are like, what? You mean if I didn't do that, this wouldn't have happened, and all that kind of stuff. I'm kind of on the same page that you're on as well, though, because for me, all the decisions I've made have led me to where I am today. And so I don't regret or have any, like when you get those stupid posts on Facebook, like you can go this door and go back in time and change all your mistakes, or you can take this door and be a millionaire. I'm always a millionaire because I don't care about the past. The past is the past. It's made me who I am today. So that's kind of the whole point of it. Like it was a lesson, I've learned it, or I didn't learn it and I'm moving on. So the branches of reality that we talk about, again, I feel like I'm talking like Avengers or Loki or something right now, but it's an intriguing perspective to think that legitimately all of these paths are going at the same time. But my question then is, do they ever link? Like, are we doing exactly like the Avengers, where it's just literally you're done, you never see that path again? Or do they ever like intertwine again because you've made a choice that the other maybe made? Or how does that work? Again, you've just set me off now. This is Geek Central if anyone's tuning in right now.
Yeah, no, I'm like waiting for some comments to come through. No, the paths don't intersect again. So, and you just said something else that I really wanted to touch on, and now it totally went out of my mind. But oh man, I wish I remembered. But no, they don't ever cross again. But it's just about regrets. Everything that happens, like everything that happens here is for our own growth, right? Like we are incarnated here to learn and to grow and to have human experiences. So,
Right.
everything is for you. Life is happening for you, not to you,
Mm.
you know?
I mean, it really is. And sometimes people use that terminology as well because they feel when they're, especially when things aren't going their way, this is happening to me. This is happening to me, is a sentence that is said a lot, especially recently, by a lot of people, because it feels like, the world is kicking you while you're down, etc. But again, perspectives will shift. And if you look at it from another standpoint, like what you were talking about, instead of feeling like you're being defeated and taking a look at it from another angle and maybe seeing it as a lesson and using that energy to grow and go in a different direction or
Yeah.
choose a different path or whatever that may look like. I mean, to be honest with you, what you're talking about is something that some people may have said in the past or been afraid to say in the past. I feel like because perspectives, it's like when people talk about the Irish, for example. I'm just gonna take it back home for a minute, how they're very positive and they're always lighthearted and all that kind of stuff. And then you might bring in another nationality, not naming any names, and they may be not so lighthearted and are very serious. It's the same kind of thing. You're basically saying you're choosing the path, you're choosing how you perceive things, you're choosing whether you negatively let this impact you or do something positive with that. So when your significant other, for example, not to go down even darker path, but significant other goes and cheats on you with said person, and you're feeling like you're the victim, some in that scenario would say, well, guess what? You didn't have any kids. You're not a victim. You're saved. You're legitimately saved from something that could have been a car crash of a relationship. So again, I think what you're saying is what sometimes people say without realizing that they're really touching on what you've been talking about in your book and what you're really kind of preaching as a coach or similar. It's all about perspective. It's all about reality and what you make it. Because I always say when you walk into a situation, or for example, I just started a new job. I've been there 5 days and I love it, but I've made a choice that no matter what happens, I am going to make the best out of this because it's the best I've had for a long time as far as salary and job fulfillment and quality of life. So I've said, no matter what, I'm going to give my all. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to take this. And because of that, my aura is feeding that energy even more so into the people that I'm meeting. And they're going, man, this guy is energetic. This is cool. I want to meet with this. I want to work with this guy even more. So it really just is like an almost domino effect, because if you make that choice to be positive and make these positive choices, you're feeding that energy and making it more central in your lifestyle, and your mood is better. And I mean, we all have to drive home from work, so maybe there's a moment in the day that you're not always happy, but you can even turn that into a plus and start doing carpool karaoke if you wanted to. Like that's really just a perspective, like you're talking about.
Yeah, you totally nailed it. Or you use that commute to listen to an audiobook and learn something. But yeah, and I think what you were talking, I mean, I have so much to say. I was like trying to take notes this time so I didn't forget anything. But I think I think a great way of saying it too is the universe will redirect you, right? So with your example about the person who gets cheated on, sometimes doors close that are not meant for you so that you can go the direction that you're meant to go. Right. But again, it's all happening for you, not to you. It's helping you live out your life purpose, right? You are here, and then if we want to get even deeper in the woo-woo, I believe, a lot of people believe that we choose our life circumstances before we're incarnated. You choose some big life things you're going to go through, how you're going to be born, how you're going to die, what you look like, who your parents are, because all those things ready the soil and plant the seeds for you to learn the lessons that you're meant to learn. But then it's up to you if you grow from them, right? And then I also wanted to touch on, when you were talking about the Irish, how, some people see the Irish as just like happy-go-lucky. Here's the thing. People show up the way you expect them to.
Right.
Because again, you're manifesting this. So if you expect someone to be happy-go-lucky, you're going to see that side of them. If you expect or perceive, same with your perceptions, if you expect or perceive someone to be angry and standoffish and grumpy and rude, then that's the side of them you're going to keep getting, right? Because people show up the way you perceive or expect them to. Because again,
100%.
You're creating your reality.
Right. And, it's really funny you say that, because it's something in business. So being in business for as long as I have been, it's something I preach a lot, is perception is reality. Because, and where I kind of tie this into business is, if every time an employee walks in the door and tries to find me, and I'm in the office, right? And every time they come to work, I'm in the office. And the only time they ever need me, I'm really just in the office. Their perception is, this guy never leaves the office.
Sure. Yeah, totally.
So, it's really true. I mean, perception is reality. If you perceive someone to be, if you have this chip on your shoulder, for example, because you didn't get that job and this new guy did, and your perception is, this guy's an asshole, right? Just because you think that way. Right. All you're going to see is that. It doesn't matter what I've worked with people who are like that. It is very toxic, because they're filling their space with negative energy and feeding that with more negative energy and making situations happen that don't exist. Like, oh my God, did you just see that? He totally just hung up the phone on that guy. No, he didn't. He said goodbye. Did you not hear that whole moment right there? And you're just like, what is going on? It's just crazy.
Exactly. I have a lot to say about that, actually.
Go for
it. So, first of all, I look at it through the lens. I teach the same thing about forgiveness. I look at it through the lens of forgiveness, where
100%.
people will say, like, oh, this person was rude to me, or, oh, this person, is a jerk. But, it's all about, like, no one is out there purposely trying to create pain and havoc and chaos in your life, or most people are not, right? Everyone is so concerned with their own stuff. They're just wrapped up in their own head. But all you're thinking about is how it affects you, right? So there's this really great poem I love by Lane Thomas. It's called On the Day You Read This. But there's this awesome line in there, and it says, no one's really judging you when you walk into a room, and all they really want to know is if you're judging them. Because again, everyone is so wrapped up in their own stuff. And I like that you were just talking about the person, like, if you have resentment towards that coworker and you start to make up all these things, we tend to turn people who we perceive to have done us wrong into monsters in our minds. Yes. Because it is easier for us to hate them that way, right? So we run everything they do and say through this imaginary filter. And this is one of my favorite ways to teach forgiveness, is if you can turn those monsters into other beings who you appreciate, into teachers, then your life will completely change if you can adopt this perspective. Because when someone's your teacher, you are always growing. Now, there are two ways to turn monsters into teachers. The first is to think about things that you admire about them. Think about ways that they've been kind to you. Think about qualities they have that you admire. What are some nice things they've done for you? What are ways they've helped the world? What are ways they've helped others? Like we were saying, everyone has different facets to them. What do the people who love them see in them? Because they probably see a very different side than you do. And that's the first way to turn a monster into a teacher. Now, if you're listening to this and you're thinking about your monster and you're thinking, no way, this person is the biggest jerk in the world. Everyone hates him. He's worse than Hitler, right? Okay. Right. There's another way to turn a monster into a teacher. And that is to recognize ways that they've helped you grow. And maybe they've shown you how you want to treat people or how you don't want to treat people. Maybe they've helped you establish stronger boundaries. Maybe they've helped you step into your own power. Every interaction you have with someone gives you the opportunity to grow. You just have to let go of your hate enough and your anger enough to see that opportunity. So
I mean, I'm hanging on every word, I'll be honest with you, because you're, I mean, we're 35 minutes into this podcast, and I can tell you right now, I could probably talk to you for hours because the subject matter is so relevant to what people are going through and what they go through on a daily basis. So, like, really bringing it back again to the book, because I really want people to kind of look for your book and kind of learn from not just you, but your book as well. So tell us a little bit about something that you posted recently. It's probably in your book because I think you started the whole reel that way, but kids were screaming in the background, so I didn't quite hear the beginning. The Mandela effect. I believe it is something that you mentioned in your book because you started that sentence in the reel saying, this is something in my book. So I'm pretty sure it is.
Well, the Mandela effect. So this goes back to exactly what we were talking about before with the multiple timelines, right?
Right.
So there is something that's called quantum jumping okay, so do you remember what we were just talking about with all the different timelines, right?
Yes.
So,
I'll never forget that conversation as long as I live. Go on.
You're like, I'm going to be dreaming about that tonight.
Yes.
So, the whole part of the idea behind, the law of attraction and using the quantum field is that you're not necessarily bringing all these things that you want into your life. Instead, you're becoming a vibrational match with a timeline where that already exists. Because remember, every possible future state exists already according to quantum physics, right? It's out there in another world. So the idea is that you're becoming this match emotionally, vibrationally, like your attitude, your mindset, the level of healing, all these things. You're becoming a different match with different timelines. Does that make sense? So you're instead of calling something to you, you're moving to a timeline where it exists. And they call that quantum jumping. And the idea is like you're always quantum jumping, right? You're leveling up, you're leveling down, like you're making choices, like you're kind of you're all over the place. So the Mandela effect is the quote unquote proof of this, right? So it was named after Nelson Mandela, who a large portion of the population swear on their life that they heard in the news that he died in prison. And then there's this other portion of the population that are like, no, he was the frickin' president of South Africa. And after he got out of prison and did all these amazing things. And then there's other like kind of fun ones where it's like some people remember the Berenstain Bears, some people remember the Berenstain Bears, some people remember the what is it? Peanut butter is called Jif. Some remember it's called Jiffy. Some remember the Monopoly guy with a monocle. Some people remember him without a monocle. But the whole idea is that because these timelines are a little bit different from each other, there's different versions of reality in them, right? So it's like if you've ever been walking down the street and you've walked down that street 1,000 times and all of a sudden there's a building there that you've never noticed, people will say, oh, it's because you moved on to another timeline where that building exists. Okay, you're a sci-fi nerd. Did you ever watch the show Fringe? Because it's like very much like Fringe.
No, it's one of my favorite shows. And I was actually quite bummed when they canceled it because
I know, right?
It was one of those shows that you just. But also, I love Quantum Leap, so that is another one that I loved. And the new one is actually really good on Peacock, if anyone's interested. Not plugging any show in particular, but it's a very good show.
I'm going to have to look that up. I haven't seen that.
You've never seen Quantum Leap? Am I just really old? Is that what's happening to me right now? I feel like
we're probably a similar age, so I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I like all day today I've made references and everyone's going, huh? And I go, oh my God. Like it's just
different timelines. They're living on a different timeline than you, man.
No, living on a different universe sometimes I feel like, because I'm like, do you know who David Bowie is? Who? What are you doing to me right now? So honestly, yeah, I think the quantum jumping thing, and I wanted to talk about that because while I asked the question earlier, do you ever like, do these timelines ever intersect or join again? I was trying to get to that Mandela effect thing where you are technically quantum jumping into the timeline that you're willing yourself towards. Because that is an amazing thing. Because, man, I think all the will in the world won't get me the $1 billion, but I'm going to give it a shot. You know what I mean? Let's start by buying a ticket. You know what I mean?
Yeah, action is the language of the 3D world, so you have to take action. That's the thing with the law of attraction. I love the law of attraction. I love The Secret. Obviously, I was endorsed by 3 people from The Secret, but the way that The Secret, or the way that some people teach the law of attraction, is what I have issue with, because they say it like you just tell the universe what you want and then like sit back, kick your feet up, and it just drops into your life, right? And it doesn't really work that way. You have to get really clear on your vision. You have to feel the emotions as if you already have it, right? That's why people say that gratitude is so great, because if you can feel grateful for something before you have it, it tricks your mind and the universe and the quantum field into believing that it's already there. So it sends you things on that frequency. But then you also have to take action, right? And taking action doesn't mean you have to like grind and work hard, but never underestimate the power of a small step. From one small step, getting outside of your comfort zone, doing something new, because in order to have something you've never had before, you have to do something you've never done before. So from one small step, you might meet someone who's going to help you along your path, right? You met people podcasting. We were talking about that before we pressed record.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, amazing people, much like yourself.
Yeah. Or like tools might appear in your life that you didn't have access to before, or doors might appear that weren't even there and open for you. So, things are it's like you take that small step and it creates momentum, and then the universe kind of takes it over from there. But you have to actually do things. You have to buy the ticket, right?
Yeah, you do. And that really brings back another point. Like you have to, while you don't have to necessarily work hard, you do really need to put your effort in. Like there has to be some effort on your part. It's not going to come to you. And this is something that kind of brings the business side out of me, because there's so many people out there that are just like, oh, I deserve this and I deserve that. And I deserve this job that makes $100,000 a year. You probably do deserve it. Well done you, but you're not going to get it with that attitude. You know what I mean? You have to go and get it. It's not going to come and find you. It's not one of those things. Like you said, you have to take action. You have to do something and kind of connect with that reality that you're trying to obtain by extending that olive branch and really doing something different,
Yeah. Outside of your comfort zone is where growth happens, right? That's
right.
You've got to get outside. Okay. So should we talk about manifesting money? Because it keeps coming back to that lottery ticket.
I just want that lottery ticket to be the winning ticket, to be honest. So yeah. Let's manifest some money into my bank account. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, you have to buy it first. So here's the thing with manifesting money. Most people have a story about money. So that's the first thing that has to change, right? Because we all have stories we tell ourselves. So maybe you were told that completely obnoxious line when you were a kid, money doesn't grow on trees. Or maybe you had a lot of money, but your friends didn't. So you felt shame around it. Or maybe you didn't have money and your friends did, and they would come to your house and be like, oh, your bedroom's so small. Like whatever it was, you have a story around money. I don't know do you remember when that submersible was going to see the Titanic wreckage a couple months ago and it imploded?
Yes.
Yeah, it was like a horrible story. It came out those people like knew of their impending death, and like it plummeted, and they had heard the creaks, and it was terrible. Yeah. Super sad. So when that came out, all the news outlets were covering it and they were posting about it on social media. And I don't know if you read the comments on those articles. Did you happen to read the comments?
I didn't, because I'm one of those people that when it's a horrific event like that, I try not to go too. So I have sympathetic pain is what I could call that, and sympathetic emotion sometimes, because when I read an article like that, it really resonates with me almost too much to where I get myself in that moment and I end up just manifesting those feelings that they may have been feeling, and it's too creepy for me. So I end up just going, hey, that happened, that's awful, okay, let's move on. So no, I have not read those comments.
It sounds like you're empathic, and I don't, honestly, I don't watch the news for, like, not for that reason, but just because, you know, again, multiple realities exist, and you get to choose what you focus on and what you allow into your reality, right? So,
Right.
but anyway, these were showing up on outlets that I follow, right? So, and some of the comments were horrific. It was billionaires, right? Very, very wealthy people on this submersible. And the comments were like, eat the rich, screw them, they're billionaires. Like, who cares? Oh, okay, another billionaire did, like, horrible stuff. But it's like, do you think that any of those people writing those comments are going to manifest wealth or abundance or money or financial freedom into their life?
Hell no.
Because they have a story about money. They have a story about wealthy people. Right?
They're going to manifest a jail sentence by the sounds of it, but yeah.
Yeah. So here's a story that my mentor was Mary Morrissey. She's the person I took my life coach training with. And she has this great story. So she was trained directly by Bob Proctor, and she has this great story about meeting him, or about seeing him for the first time. So she was really young. She was already kind of into the law of attraction, and she drove a couple hours to watch him speak about manifesting money. And she's in this auditorium with a couple hundred people, and they're all waiting for him to come out. And she doesn't know anything about him, right? He's not well known yet. Like,
right.
He's just this random man for her, who's this spiritual man who's going to talk about money. And so finally he comes out on stage, and he doesn't say anything. And he just kind of looks around at everyone. And then he pulls his wallet out from his pocket, and he holds it up. And then he opens his wallet, and he pulls out this big wad of cash. And he fans out the cash, and it's all 50s and 100s. And finally he speaks, and he says, "This is money. I love money." And he starts, like, kissing the money. And Mary in her head is going, "Oh my God, this is disgusting. This guy's a pig. He's so greedy. I bet he's not even spiritual." So finally he stops. He puts the money in the wallet, puts the wallet in the pocket, and he goes, "Okay, show of hands. How many of you were thinking, this guy's greedy? I bet this guy's not even spiritual?" And all these people are raising their hands, and Mary's looking around like, I can't believe everyone's having the same thoughts as I am. He goes, okay, put your hands down. Let's say that I walked out here onto the stage holding the hand of this cute little 4-year-old boy. We walked out on stage together, and then we stopped in the middle, and I had him in front of me, and I picked him up from behind and held him up so you could see him. And I said, "This is my grandson. I love my grandson." When I start kissing him on the head, he goes, "How many people would have the same reaction about my grandson?" And no one raised their hand. But the whole point of the story is that everyone has a story about money, right? And and money doesn't go where it's not wanted, and it doesn't stay where it's not valued. So if you are an abundant person, you don't have a lacking mindset. You can't. You can only have an abundant mindset. Now, the other side of it is so many people focus on that dollar amount, right? That 1.4 billion Powerball, right? But
yes,
it's not 1.4 pieces of paper that you want. Like, money is bullshit. It's not even backed by gold, right? It's not like you want a bunch of pieces of paper. You want what money is a symbol, right? Money is a symbol of freedom or pride or adventure or stability or whatever it is for you. So rather than focusing on that dollar amount, on that money, that thing that doesn't mean anything, focus on what it is you want from it. You know, what do you want to feel? Do you want to feel a sense of accomplishment? Do you want to feel that stability? Do you want to have freedom of your calendar and feel the emotions of it and visualize that life that you want?
Right.
And that's how you manifest money, rather than focusing on the money itself. Because, you know, to the universe, like, the universe works on emotion. You have to match the frequency of your dream life. You can't create the life of your dreams from the life you have now. You have to level up your emotions.
I think you're probably the most fun person to have in a room, because you're a science geek, and it's like you're just pulling pins and dropping grenades, and I'm just going, what? Legitimately, So for those of you who are just joining us, Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality is the book. This amazing person that I'm talking to tonight is Kris Ashley. All of you haven't said a word, and I acknowledge that most of you are probably awestruck like I am. So speechless would not be a bad thing. But if you have any comments, please, questions and comments are welcomed. So yes, I would love to have lots of money, but the reason I would love all that money is exactly what you were saying. It's a lifestyle thing. It's not having a quote unquote shitty credit score. Because legitimately, I feel like that when you look at your credit score, it's like reading a Google review about yourself. It's like, what? Are you kidding me? I'm that to you right now. It's awful. And so for a lot of people, financial accomplishment is their goal because, sadly, money makes the world go round in many ways. And, a house, a car, being able to wow your kids with a Disneyland trip, or being able to just have a vacation whenever you feel like, or not having a boss that treats you like garbage anymore, and things like that. Like you're connecting money and the need for money to things that may not even be related. For example, having a boss that treats you like garbage, that may not be a money thing. That might just be a choice you made when it came to a job or education. You may need to broaden your horizons and learn something new. So yeah, I mean, everything you're saying is just, it's connecting dots and making a lot of sense. So as we kind of approach the hour, I am very conscious of the time, and I don't want to be taking up all your evening, especially as you are, you're growing a human inside of you and you need all your rest. So for those of the viewers who want to connect with you and kind of feel what a client would feel, if you call them clients, I'm not sure what you call your customers, but like anyone that wants to connect with you and really know what that experience looks like, and kind of step by step, kind of how you would deal with them, and then also where you're going to find the book and all that fun stuff. If you could tell me all that, please.
Yeah, totally. So I'm really easy to find online, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that. My handle is Change Your Mind with Kris. Kris is spelled with a K if you're watching the video. So I'm Change Your Mind with Kris on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Ashley on Facebook. I have my own podcast, Change Your Mind with Kris Ashley. My book is available in paperback, audiobook, ebook, everywhere you get your books. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Google Books, Apple Books, all over the place. My website is krisashley.net. So lots of ways to get in touch and to reach out. And I have a free live workshop every Thursday at 4 Pacific time if you want to come get some more content for free and, find out how to work with me. That's a great opportunity. And if you're in the Bay, I have an event coming up. So lots of ways to connect.
Awesome. And that's one thing I love to promote when it comes to my guests is connection, because just from this conversation alone, you're not just a really interesting person, you're also a really cool person to talk to. And if there's any sci-fi geeks out there, they're going to want to listen to this back about all of the quantum jumping and things that we've been talking about tonight. But one thing I will say is definitely go and check out the book. I'm very, very aware of it also being available as an audiobook. So this is something that I encourage everyone to do. And everyone that has a book never seems to take my advice. And I'm so glad that you are the first person to already have done that. Audiobooks are so awesome. They're like podcasts. And for those of you who don't necessarily pick up a book and read, this is your basically, I'm going to say you have no excuses why you don't know what's going on in this woman's book, because you can literally go on Amazon right now and get the audiobook. So I encourage everyone to do so. Kris, you're amazing. Quite simple. That little person growing inside you is very lucky, and I'm just in awe of the things that you've been talking about tonight. And honestly, it really makes a lot of sense. You know, we manifest ourselves in situations a lot and bring ourselves to perceptions and realities that we kind of inflict our own pain a lot of the time. So really changing your perspective, not coining anything to do with the podcast name at all, but changing your I can say the word perspective, and making it happen for yourself is exactly what you're talking about. It's inspiring. Like, it is really, really cool. And considering everything that you've gone through in your life and everything that you've turned it around and made it so positive, I mean, you're an advocate for this, and who are we to say that any of what you're saying is incorrect or not? So I love all this. So this is fantastic. So that has been another amazing episode of The Unscripted Perspective. I am honored, privileged, and amazed by this woman. Please check out her book, Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality. Kris Ashley is pretty much everywhere. You just put in Kris Ashley on the internet. I literally had to do it earlier because for so many other reasons that we won't talk about right now, but trying to find some emails and things, and it was an interesting afternoon. But definitely 100% go and check out everything that she is doing, and we will catch you all again soon. So hold on, this is totally frozen. Give me one moment.
I can hear you fine though.
Yeah.
But thank you for all the kind words. I appreciate you.
You know, Chrome is one of those things, and everyone's going to be like, what is going on with Phil? Chrome is one of those things that tends to crash every now and again for me, and it could be a Mac thing. I have no idea. But as I kind of talk myself into this abyss of trying to get through a technical issue, tell me your favorite sci-fi show while I'm dealing with all of this.
Oh my gosh, my favorite. How about I leave people with some bit of wisdom instead? Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So I think if there's one piece of wisdom I would like to leave everyone with, it's that, you know, we are all in this together, and everyone outside of you appears to be separate, but we are all reflections of each other. We are all mirrors for each other. We come from the same thing. We go back to the same thing. It's all part of this illusion. So, Phil disappeared. I'm going to keep talking on his podcast. So what one person does deeply affects what someone else does on the other side of the globe. And again, quantum physics backs this up with entanglement. So if you cause another person to feel hurt or anger or shame or sadness, this is why I'm so against cancel culture, then those emotions get reflected out into the quantum field. And the quantum field then sends humanity more situations and people and circumstances that make people feel that way. So if you want to heal a sick society, if you want to heal the world, the way to do it is to heal yourself first. And as you level up and grow and change and heal and grow for the better, you become this beacon, this light for everyone else. And then you affect your friends, your family, your community. And as they see you level up, they want to rise to meet you. So you can offer them a helping hand then. But then they level up and they affect their circles and their communities. And it's this beautiful ripple effect. So beautiful timing also. So yeah, rising tides lift all ships. Heal your inner world to heal your outer world. That was fun. I took over your podcast and I just kept going.
My God. Like, can I just say how amazing you are right now? So Google Chrome is about to get deleted from my laptop, but yeah, wow, you took over that podcast. So I appreciate you more than you realize. So for those of you who don't understand how amazing she is, this is going to be on YouTube directly after we finish streaming. All of the things that you missed are simple, amazing things, that nuggets of information that you will take with you forever. But definitely go and check out the book, Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality. I didn't get to hear what you said and inspire people with. So I'm going to have to go back and watch this podcast as well.
Go watch it, yeah.
But thank you so much for being part of that. It is just an absolute honor to have you on board, and we'll definitely have you back because I want to hear about your wonderful journey that you're about to embark, about being a parent and everything. So congratulations again. And for all who've tuned in and watched this evening and seen the technical difficulties that we seem to always run into at this stage of the night, thank you. Go with grace, and we will see you again soon for another awesome episode.
Thank you so much for listening, and be sure to leave us a rating or review on your favorite listening platform.
Be sure to keep in touch with us on Facebook and Instagram at
The Unscripted Perspective,
or you can visit us at
www.theunscriptedperspective.com.